Have you ever wondered how much your favorite auto YouTuber makes in a month? Well, I know I have, and I'm gonna kind of break it down for you a little bit on how I think about it. Welcome back to All Cars, y'all. I am John, and I've got a beautiful day out here. Sun's in my face. I love it. And I'm not just an auto creator here. I am a fan. I consume a tremendous amount of auto channel content every single day, every single week, and you can't help but watch a lot of these creators and wonder, well, dang, how much do they make in a month? Some of them show off their beautiful houses, their fleet of cars that, any one of them costs more than what the average person could make. So you have to wonder, how much do they really make? Well, the fact is that we really ever don't know unless they tell us. I apologize, I am using the on-camera mic here. My wireless one didn't want to work this morning for some reason. But unless they tell us, we can't really know, but we can kind of guess at it. So I mean this for entertainment purposes. I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. And I'm certainly not pretending that I know any secret information that they aren't sharing. This is meant for entertainment and just to kind of take a look at it. Now, the most obvious way that YouTubers make money is from YouTube, what's called the YouTube Partner Program. That's the biggest piece, and we're going to cover that at the end. But let's talk about 3 other ways they might be making money on a monthly basis. The first one would be merchandise. Now, you see a few people do this. They sell shirts or stickers, bumper stickers, or a big freaking bottle. That's a really good marketing idea, by the way, and I appreciate that Shooting Cars does that one. But I've never seen an auto YouTuber talk about how much they make from merchandise. I've watched a lot of other YouTubers, vloggers, lifestyle vloggers typically talk about it. And the general consensus is it's not much money and it's barely worth the time to do it. So from what I've seen pulling from other fields, I kind of think that this is in the few $100s if you're relatively successful at it. The amount you actually get after the split from the people who are actually producing the product. The next one would be things like Patreon, YouTube memberships, buy me a coffee, or direct contributions through PayPal, things like that. We really can't know. Now, some creators do share how many patrons they get, and that allows us a pretty easy, if they offer 3 different tiers and they have, let's say, 200 people, the average tier is 500, we can probably make a pretty good guess that they're making maybe around $1,000, a little bit less. And this is pretty popular. You see people like Big Car, TFL, or the Electric Viking. They do these, and pretty successfully too. So I think this gives them a big boost on their income. We don't know how much that really is, but we can. That Honda Odyssey is not healthy. But we can make at least an educated guess. You do have the option of not sharing how many patrons you have, so you really can't know, but if they do share enough information, we kind of get in the ballpark. The next one would be sponsorships, and this one is a tough one. Now, these are really for bigger creators. And a sponsorship is, you've seen these before if you've watched a video, and in the middle of the video, they'll be like, by the way, I get my insurance from XYZ Insurance Agency. If you want to take 30 minutes and save 15%, reach out to them. Well, that's actually the company paying that content creator to plug it in the video. This is not an ad that YouTube is sponsoring that you can skip, that you can avoid. It's in every single video. Now, you can have small local companies do that. And I think in that case, you're probably talking about maybe a few $100s if you're lucky. But think about this. If there's a local company for me that wraps cars, and I go to them and I say, look, I have this many subscribers. I get on average this many views. I'm going to produce 6 videos this month for $500. I will mention you in every single one of my videos for the next month. Well, that doesn't really help them when I have viewers from Europe and Australia and places like that. So while the majority of my viewers are from the United States and Canada, you do have to have more of a national level company for this to work. So to do this, you typically have to have bigger creators with much bigger viewership. And you think about like VinWiki or TFL, people like that. And the question becomes, how much does a sponsorship actually cost? And the fact is, I don't really know. Everybody has been very vague about it. I've seen a few videos where they've talked about it for gaming communities and things like that. But for the auto community, I don't really know. Now, if you look at it from the perspective of, say we're going to release 4 videos this month. Their average is 300,000 views per video. The sponsorship has to at least be competitive with how much they make from another source. So I think for your large-ish content creators, depending on the number of videos, depending on the size of the company that's buying that sponsorship, I think you could very easily be talking about thousands to multi-thousands, okay? I know that's a little vague, but you don't really know. And I think that for a smaller creator with a smaller company and a smaller viewership, 1,000, 2,000, I think 5,000 becomes very reasonable very, very quickly. I question if it gets into the tens of thousands. I don't really know. And Ed Mullion over at VinWiki did a good video, I think a year ago, about income on auto YouTube, but he very carefully avoided any conversations around the actual numbers. But he did talk about the sponsorships, just not how much they're actually worth. So when I look at it, and I look at a relatively big creator that's getting in that 300,000 range of views, I tend to think $5,000, but I truly don't know if that is remotely correct. But that's where I put myself. So we're still walking here because I was going to sit down at the park here in my neighborhood and talk about the YouTube Partner Program. Unfortunately, today apparently is landscaping day. So unless we want to watch workers and listen to leaf blowers, we can't do that. So the next one is the YouTube Partner Program, and that's the most obvious. That's where you watch a video and an ad shows up. Either it's a banner, it's on the side, or it's a skippable ad or a non-skippable ad. Now you have to qualify for these. This is not about how to qualify for the YouTube Partner Program, but Google owns YouTube, is out there selling advertisements. Advertisers can look and say, I want somebody who's in the auto space that serves the US and Canada, and I'm willing to pay X number of dollars per 1,000 views for a placement of this video ad or this banner ad, whatever it happens to be. Google and YouTube put the advertiser and your video together. They take a split of it, so they do all the work, we just create the content, and then we get paid for it. Now, how much we get paid varies dramatically. It based on the content of the video, the region it's in, and how much advertisers, basically, how much advertisers are willing to pay for that spot. Generally speaking, our pay, it's called RPM, is somewhere between $5 and $15 per 1,000 views. And that's pretty consistent with what I see. I do have videos that get in the $2, $3 range certain times of the year. I have gone substantially over that for limited periods of time. But again, VinWiki, Ed, in his video he did talking about money, I think he said that range too, and that his channel was in there. So this is the one that's the most fun, because if you go look at a creator.
All right, I apologize for the jarring change here real quick, guys. Turns out my memory card in my GoPro went bad. Apparently, while I was recording, I managed to recover most everything except for the last couple of minutes here of me actually talking. So let's finish that thought that if you've got a video, and let's say it's doing 300,000 views, you divide by that 1,000, you're left with 300, and you multiply by that $7 per 1,000, you're left with about $2,100. And so this is where you can start to look at creators and look at how many videos they released in a month, you can add up the views, divide by 1,000, multiply, and come up with an approximate number of kind of what maybe they might be earning from YouTube. Again, having a range that could be anywhere from $5 to $15 or less, it's a big range, so we really truly don't know. Again, unless they tell us what it is, what they're actually earning, the best we can do is kind of guess. But when I look at my favorite creators and I see that they get 100 or a million views on a video, I do that quick math, divide by 1,000, multiply by 7, and that's at least kind of how I look at it. So that gives you a little bit of guidance. Here's how it all kind of pieces together. Here's how really this applies to the bigger creators and how they make the money and get you in the ballpark. Now, some of them you can look at and you have to know they're making $30 or $100 or $300,000 a month just from the efforts of YouTube and the sheer number of views they get. But it's interesting because it's very easy to start looking at channels and say, hey, they look like they're doing okay, but they may not be doing too much. And big channels where you're like, wait, these numbers are actually unbelievable. Now, there is a website I'm going to tell you about. It's called Social Blade. If you've never heard of it before, you can go there. You can actually type in the name of your favorite creator, and it'll show you a ton of information. In terms of the number of views and the number of subscribers a channel has, it's very accurate. But they do give you estimates of how much they make per month and per video. And the range is ridiculous as to not be reasonable. But this is the why it's unreasonable and why that range is just so incredibly broad, because we don't really know. I will add in here, if you're curious, that from what I've seen, the different genres you're working in, where your channel is, will kind of dictate how much advertisers are willing to pay to advertise on YouTube. Financial tends to pay very, very well. So when you think about influencers like Graham Stephan, his RPM is probably on up there a little bit. When you look at a lifestyle blogger, it's probably quite a bit lower. And somewhere in there near the upper end is the auto channels. So when I'm talking about these ranges here, this is kind of not the upper end, but it's kind of on that upper end, that upper side of how much YouTube actually pays per 1,000 views. So I hope you found this interesting. I really want to stress again, this is not to call out any of the people I mentioned. Every single one of them I respect, I love, and I absorb their content. But this is how I think about it. When I look at this as a fan, I'm like, I hope they're doing well. I hope they're making a fortune. And how do they afford that house and those cars? This is the kind of math I run through in my head. So I appreciate you being here, and please, thumbs up. If you have any questions, let me know below.